What's up, all you Quantumaniacs? I'm DeQuan Young, and today we present the top 10 most excruciatingly boring games in NFL history. And a big shout out to Gavin Titherington for suggesting this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to TPS and make sure you hit the bell, turn on the notifications to join the notification squad. And not every football game can be a thriller. That's just the way the world works. There's a difference between uneventful or meh and just downright boring. And throughout the NFL's history, we've seen a handful of games that we all wish could be erased from the history books forever. Number 10, the 2003 NFC Championship, Panthers vs. the Eagles. The Donovan McNabb and Andy Reid-led Philadelphia Eagles reached their third straight NFC Championship game in the 2003 season. Their opponent, the Cinderella story Carolina Panthers, who were looking to reach their first Super Bowl. Rather than see an offensive shootout between McNabb and Panthers quarterback Jake Delhomme, we saw a sloppy, mistake-filled, and gross game in Philly. McNabb stunk it up with 3 interceptions and was sacked 4 times. He completed just 10 passes for 100 yards. And Delhomme wasn't much better either, tossing 9 completions for 101 yards and a touchdown. Philly turned it over 4 times, and Carolina did very little on offense. You wonder if Panthers fans were even that excited over winning such a boring game. I would be excited. I'm not a Panthers fan. Number 9, the 1970 NFC Divisional Round, the Lions vs. the Cowboys. The Lions and the Cowboys have met 3 times in the playoffs. And folks best remember that epic, yet controversial 2014 NFC wildcard game. And that was quite the shootout between Matt Stafford and Tony Romo, to say the least. But back in 1970, the Lions and Cowboys played in the 9th most boring NFL game ever. It featured 4 turnovers, 387 total yards of offense, and a whopping 5 points. Cowboys kicker Mike Clark kicked the field goal in the first quarter. Dallas then registered a safety in the 4th quarter to lead 5-0. And that was it for scoring. Isn't 5-0 supposed to be like a hockey or baseball score? Number 8, Browns vs. Bills, Week 5, 2009. Is it a stretch to say the Cleveland Browns and the Buffalo Bills have been the NFL's 2 worst, most dysfunctional, and laughable organizations in the 21st century? And maybe throw the Lions in there. The 2 horrible teams met at Ralph Wilson Stadium in Week 5 of the 2009 season. And we're shocked that the stadium wasn't empty by the start of the 4th quarter. Derek Anderson, who was Cleveland's quarterback at the time, completed 2 passes for 23 yards. And yet, that was good enough for the Browns to escape with a 6-3 road win. Buffalo took a laughable 13 penalties and turned it over 3 times. 9 of those penalties were false starts. And this game just sucked, period. Number 7, Super Bowl IX, the Steelers and the Vikings. On paper, Super Bowl IX in New Orleans had all the makings to be something special. It was the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Minnesota Vikings, 2 franchises looking for their first Super Bowl victory. It was 2 legendary quarterbacks in Terry Bradshaw and Fran Tarkenton. It was 2 of the most dominant defenses of all time, the Steel Curtain versus the Purple People Eaters. Minnesota turned it over 5 times, Pittsburgh twice. And the Vikings were also held to a horrible 119 yards of offense. Goodness gracious, that's bad. The Steelers won the game 16-6, securing their first Super Bowl. Hey, I got a joke for you. A vegan, a Steelers fan, and a CrossFitter walk into a bar. Who talks about their 6 Super Bowls first? Number 6, Colts vs. Ravens, 2006 AFC Divisional Round. The Indianapolis Colts were looking for their first Super Bowl championship in the Peyton Manning era. But they had quite the obstacle to get there. A playoff game against Steve McNair and the Ray Lewis-led Baltimore Ravens. We didn't get to see Peyton Manning try to solve the puzzle of the Ravens' stingy defense. We were instead treated to a battle kickers. Indianapolis had 261 yards of offense. Baltimore had 244. The 2 teams combined for 6 turnovers. But Adam Vinatieri's 5 field goals for Indy were more than enough to leave Baltimore with a win. And for the Ravens, their promising season ended with a 15-6 loss, with all of their points coming from kicker Matt Stover. Number 5, Bills vs. Jaguars, 2017 AFC wildcard round. The Buffalo Bills ended their 18-year playoff drought in 2017, though they needed help from the Cincinnati Bengals to do it. And so, the Bills' reward was a visit to Jacksonville in the wildcard round, where they would take on a Jaguars team that had just ended its 10-year playoff drought. Never mind that this was a match between 2 long-struggling small-market teams. Watching Blake Bortles versus Tyrod Taylor was worse than the final season of Martin. Jacksonville won this contest 10-3. We got 1 scoring touchdown in the game, 5 penalties apiece, and 2 Bills turnovers. Number 4, Panthers vs. Broncos, Super Bowl 50. Super Bowl 50 looked enticing on paper. MVP Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers were looking for their first Super Bowl in franchise history. On the flip side, Denver Broncos quarterback Peyton Manning was playing in his final game. The legendary signal caller was looking to retire with that elusive second championship ring. But even the biggest Broncos fans and Panthers haters have to admit this game was boring, especially considering how many great Super Bowls we've been spoiled with in the 21st century. Newton was sacked 6 times, lost 2 fumbles and threw 1 pick. Manning was sacked 5 times, threw 1 interception and lost a fumble. Only 4 third down conversions were made in this game. Carolina took 12 penalties for 102 yards. This game was boring. Denver won the Super Bowl 24-10, and it's nice that Peyton got to ride off into the sunset, but boy oh boy. Number 3, the 1979 NFC Championship, Rams versus the Buccaneers. You know a conference championship game is boring when neither team reaches the end zone. Rams quarterback Vince Ferragamo completed 12 passes for 163 yards, while Mike Ray and Doug Williams split the duties for Tampa Bay in this one. There were only 2 turnovers and 7 penalties called in the game. It was just pure boringness. Punt, punt, punt. Field goal for the Rams. Turnover, punt, punt, punt. Doesn't sound fun at all. Frank Corral booted 3 field goals for the Rams, and it was enough to punch a ticket to the Super Bowl, which they lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 2, Dolphins vs. Steelers, Week 12, 2007. You had the Pittsburgh Steelers and the lowly Miami Dolphins who entered this game without a single win. Throw in a thunder delay and a muddy field in Pittsburgh, and this game just straight up sucked. The game had just 375 total yards of offense, 9 sacks and 3 turnovers. And as for the final score of this slobber knocker, 3-0. Number 1, the Detroit Lions versus the New York Giants, Week 8, 1943. 17,000 fans packed Briggs Stadium in Detroit for this contest between the Lions and Giants. Thankfully, we were unable to find any game highlights from this contest. Saves you some sore eyes and thus a trip to the optometrist. This game finished with a final score of 0-0. There were 9 first downs in the game, 214 yards of offense, and a partridge in a pear tree. We should just be positive and credit both teams for their incredible efforts on defense. But no, even those defense first lovers would hate to see a scoreless tie. Man, I'd be in the colored section mad as hell because racism was going on there. Which do you think is the most boring game in NFL history? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps us out a ton and we truly appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time. My knee.